Kasoma. Wakatinde njira nyenga. Leva nyinde n'abavani. Muje tugarura byobwangwa. Byobwangwa muri bunyoro. Muje tugarura byobwangwa. Byobwangwa muri bunyoro. Tugarura muri zaitu.
The history of seed goes as far back as the myth of Kintu. Because when Kintu came to settle here, he came with the seeds. He came with millet seeds. When Peter Robert Shaw of San Bernardino University in California did research here, he unearthed seeds which were buried 1,000 years ago. Those seeds were washed, crushed, and made into porridge. And the porridge was as good as new. Millet is the kind of food you would store and it will last many, many centuries and never get spoiled. That's why the Banyoro would say, long live like millet.
When I was still young, I grew up on indigenous seeds. Indigenous seeds are like the indigenous people, like the indigenous knowledge. They have been here since time immemorial. They supported this country, they supported the indigenous people, Ugandans, for a long time before the colonials came in. Until recently, when science came in and innovations came in, they started bringing about hybrid seeds.
We have had seeds associated with our cultures for a very, very long time. When people worship, when people sacrifice, make sacrifices, most sacrifices, they use seeds. The meal they share together is a meal of millet.
Uganda is believed to have 54 tribes and several ethnic groups. Each of these people were eating in a certain way as their way of life. And interestingly, there was no malnutrition. The food system, as it mirrors the seed system, could feed the population adequately in all the diverse foods that they need to balance and stabilize their diets. Seed is a very critical element of a food system. And minus it, both for crop, animal, and insects, then a farming and a food system cannot be sustained.
So in order to get good seed, you first see the plant when it is still standing. You sort out the good seed you want. You may be planting millet, it may have different seeds. You try to select the best, which you see that it is coming up well. Then after selecting it, you tie it separately, you dry it separately, then you process it separately until you reach at the time of planting it. And even the beans, it is the same. There may be different beans in a garden, but you can select the best seed you want to plant.
When you have picked those seeds, you would hang them somewhere in the kisasi. So you keep the seeds there. The smoke gets into them. Some people used to mix them with ash, others mix them with the pepper, and then the seeds will be there for a long time. Sometimes you would collect these seeds and you put them in a guad. I remember when we were children, we used to sing a song about Kafundara. Kafundara, an old man, wakes up with his hoe and he picks his guad and he goes to plant seeds. It's good something like Kafundara kaimuka nakasiste atire mwenkambo yokugara ngaya mukama wange. We have a very wide variety of beans and they have many varied colors and they are grown all over the Kitara heartland. Some of them were had medicinal values. Say for instance, we have a variety called mutike. This bean called mutike was actually fed to women who had delivered babies and was very good for their nutrition. Nowadays, I don't see mutike around. To have a variety called tintina basezi, I don't fear night dancers. I'm not scared of night dancers because it will yield anyway.
There are other seeds like there is a certain type of millet which we call ruahoima. That means we got it from hoima. So that seed of millet is very good and it looks nice in the garden. And when you are harvesting it, you harvest it when you are happy because it has very big heads. So it is easy to harvest. When we go to sorghum, there is what they call chatanombe. It looks very nice when you plant it and it is growing. It breaks the soil. It is very strong. There is another type of cassava, which is the bukalasa. It is also very good. But for miaka, it means it stays in the soil for so many years. That's why it is called miaka. In our garden of matoke, we have different species, but I do like kanavururu because it has a very good mubumba. And we have enzirabushera. It appears so nice when it is old. And we have embwazirime. It also grows very huge. Then we have kawaragara, our indigenous. When you are taking it, it is so sweet. You like it. And we have this mbogoya. Mbogoya also, a traditional mbogoya, is so sweet. It is not as these which they call nuts. So that's why I try to plant our indigenous plants and seeds.
We are what we eat, and what we eat determines or demonstrates who we are. If you find people who eat what they don't grow and grow what they don't eat, then they are captured. In the present day of Uganda, and the agriculture sector in particular, our food system and agriculture sector was attacked and captured so many years ago, and by the elites. When did malnutrition come to Uganda, which is an immoral act? Because we cannot have malnutrition and hunger in a country of plenty. It's because the food system was captured, the seed system was captured, and people have to plead to some other person, whether a market, a shop, a relative, an NGO, or a government program, to plant a seed, to sow a seed, and expect a harvest. Our indigenous seeds have suffered intended discrimination because whoever promoted the discrimination had an intention of despising what we have. We abandon it, they introduce what they are selling, and they reap from us. Our animal breeds are the most resilient to any challenge, even the epitome of climate change. These breeds that they are pushing into our systems cannot survive. It starves one day, and the next week you have to reinvest because it will be dead.
Today there is a phenomenon of buying imported seeds from Europe, especially from one country which is very common, is Netherlands. These seeds are very expensive. 1 tin of tomato seeds, which plant 1 acre, goes for 800,000. Even on the website, there is a company which is advertising yellow pepper, and they are selling them 205,000 shillings per 1,000 seeds. You calculate that, it comes to 205,000 per seed. This is very, very expensive. Smallholder farmers, their mind have been inculcated to tell them that you need to buy these seeds in order to have a good harvest. So you find they borrow to go and buy these seeds. But what COVID has taught us, one, we depend on smallholder farmers to produce our food. Then two, that smallholder farmers depend on their seeds to grow the food we want.
Indigenous seeds underpin our sovereignty. If you lose your seeds, you have lost your sovereignty. You will be dependent on someone else to supply you seeds. And that's really very unfortunate. It means the farmer cannot take decisions anymore. The farmer cannot choose anymore. You are imposing on him what you want. Yet you are throwing away the different values in the various seeds, as I've mentioned, for beans, even for millet, even for maize. When I grew up, we had a lot of multicolored maize. I'm told they still grow them in India, but here they have completely disappeared. We call them a mahunde. You will be lucky to find a mahunde. These hybrids came in, longe 1, longe 2, longe what. That's what you are finding. But the taste in some of these varieties is flat. Whereas our traditional maize was very, very tasty and very nice. So that's what we're missing. So much as large masses of people have to be fed, we should not compromise the quality in our indigenous seeds.
We have been trying to look around for the crops that look seemingly getting extinct. We are not comfortable enough with the improved crops, the GMOs. We are not comfortable with them. Our village members thought that we needed to work very, very fast to restore our traditional crops, and these include groundnuts, cassava, sweet potatoes. All these crops have been marginalized, especially by agriculturists. The government agriculturists have been marginalizing our traditional crops. But happily enough, the village members thought that we should not throw away our traditional food crops, and we have been collecting them into mother gardens, multiplication gardens, where we start with a few and eventually we get a lot of seed and we give to communities around. Many people have appreciated keeping our traditional crops. So this village is almost a model in sustaining our traditional crops.
Indigenous seeds are the rescue of Africa. They are the rescue of Uganda. They have ability to be industrialized. We can commercialize the production of these seeds, of these bleeds, only and only if they remain on the priority agenda of our governments. They attract public financing for research, for commercialization, for industrialization. And doing this, again, we shouldn't do it for a farmer. We should do it for our economy. We should do it for our countries. We should do it for the food consumers that must get the best, safe, nutritious, stable, and sustainable diets for their health needs.
We need to take back as a country the control of our seed. Because it's true, anybody who controls your food controls your livelihood.